going to keep this section short since I've already made a long video detailing it in much greater depth. Ironically, a very large part of this channel has spent dozens of hours basically detailing different angles of two different crises we are facing as a world or civilization today. The first of which is the political crisis, or why I think America and much of the rest of the world are on the verge of a major war or political collapse. Then there is the demographic collapse, which we will see play out for the rest of this century, which is attached to psychological issues. I've called this the psychological Black Death in previous videos. It's easy to forget that these two independent crises, which I believe would happen without the other, are hitting us at the same time. Mouse Utopia was an experiment in the 60s and 70s where they put 9 mice into a cage that could hold 6,000 mice. They gave them perfect conditions for population growth. There was infinite food, a lot of space, no disease, and a good climate. They ran this experiment 30 times and got the same results for each time. The population skyrocketed to 2,000, which is, again, 1/3 of the carrying capacity, and then the mouse social structure broke down. The male mice became effeminate while the female mice became masculine. The mice stopped interacting socially, with a lot becoming autistic. The mouse social system totally broke down, as there were gangs of violent mice who would kill those who continued to breed. The mouse birth rate crashed precipitously, as each time the mouse colony completely died out. Doesn't this sound eerily similar to what's going on in our world? The Mouse Utopia experiment has haunted me ever since I read it. I know it's possible to discount an experiment run by some guy in the 60s, but the thing is that this is the only paradigm that explains a lot of the weirdness of our society. We're the first era in history which wants to commit civilizational suicide. The first era where the birth rate has crashed to the degree it has. A large part of the West is literally pushing degrowth and mass immigration for the literal purpose of replacing the current population. We are the society which has the strongest feminism and most effeminate men ever. Nothing like it has been seen before in history, but it can all be explained by Mouse Utopia. I was watching my friend Homath's YouTube channel, and he showed a video of how in Korea they have something called the 4B movement. What that effectively means is that Korean women will stop having children, any kind of relationships, speaking with, or sex with men. This is terrifying because it just proves the Mouse Utopia paradigm. Only through Mouse Utopia can you explain a population which has lost any desire to reproduce, or who view reproduction as disgusting. Another scary thing is that the American girl who made a TikTok explaining this approved of the 4Bs and was cheering on Korean women for ending their entire nation. I assess the accuracy of my predictions every few years to compare what I thought would happen to reality. I find I had a bias against nihilism, and that I did not predict accurately how suicidally nihilistic our society or the lefts would get. The 4Bs was something, once I knew about the Mouse Utopia experiment, that I knew in the back of my mind I would start seeing. It's shocking to actually get there, though. I put it in the same mental bracket as the hikikomori, or the Japanese shut-ins who refuse to work, socialize, or be members of society. I predicted there would be a Western version, and now we have the NEETs, which stands for Not in Employment, Training, or Education. The thing that scares me about Mouse Utopia is that it's the perfect logical endpoint of the chain of argument I went through before, of what a majority urban population would end up like. The guy who ran the Mouse Utopia experiment, after running various versions of it 30 times, came to the conclusion that the driving variable for Mouse Utopia was the crowding and thus lack of agency which came from overpopulation. A very similar conclusion to the Unabomber, who said that the great flaw of the Industrial Revolution was that it removed agency so much from the average person that society lost any will to keep going. That the human spirit couldn't take being turned into a cog or a ant in a giant depersonalized hill. The Unabomber also said that without intervention from genetic engineering, that industrial civilization would break down. He said that collapsing birth rates, ennui, soullessness, and other things would mean that the industrialized world would self-destruct over the course of the 21st century. This fits with the rural thesis, in that in a rural society where you know everyone, you can feel agency over your life since you are capable of seeing how you as an individual have improved your community over the course of your life. That's much more difficult in a giant depersonalized bureaucracy. The thing that scares me about this is it's yet another logical argument that comes from a different direction that says basically the same thing as the Maus Utopia or decadence argument, that the industrial urban nature of modern civilization creates a lack of social standards or cultural unity, which results in demographic collapse. The thing is, we can't ignore this anymore as the birth rate keeps on plummeting to lower and lower levels. Part 4. What does this all mean?